Let's talk about my husband's most annoying mistress, the realtor. A little over 8 weeks ago, my husband violently physically assaulted me. After the fact, I found out that he's been having affairs for the duration of our marriage. He had many mistresses while we were married, but the most annoying one is a realtor. She's been living in my home. She's been seen out in public with him, and she's made a full page defending the man who has been proven to have physically assaulted me.
We are with Miss Celeste Hamilton,
the mistress realtor.
The mistress realtor.
I sleep well at night knowing that I haven't done anything that's morally wrong in my book.
Babe, you're a sleazy hoe who wrecked a home, and congrats, you got the prize. It's a man-beating piece of shit. Anyways.
I've never defended any sort of abuse ever. I just know how things work, and I know how things can be misconstrued. I've gotten to know him more. If anything, it's pushed him and I closer than ever, which she has no idea what karma is yet, but she will.
He just beat the shit out of her last night. She's also in jail right there with him for assaulting the cop that showed up. Yeah, go tell everyone that that's a fluke too, right? Absolutely insane work.
Hi, I'm Jana and welcome back to the channel. What do you think is worse? Finding out that your husband cheated on you, or finding out that the man you're dating has a wife and you've unknowingly become the other woman? Now, I think we can all agree that both are pretty horrific, but today's story introduces a third option, and that is willingly becoming the other woman to a known abuser and dedicating your entire TikTok account to defending him while he's still married. Yeah, I know. And somehow that's not even the craziest part, because this isn't just your average messy cheating scandal. No, this is a full-blown case of what happens when a pick-me becomes so determined to get picked that she loses sight of what she's actually being picked for. And with that, I welcome you to the bizarre world of the TikTok pick-me realtor mistress. But before we dive in, I just want to give you a quick heads up that this story does involve physical abuse and domestic violence. So if that's a little too much for you today, that's okay. As always, please be kind to yourself and protect your peace if needed. Now, to start off, our story doesn't actually start with a mistress, but with a wife, Elizabeth Anna. And what started as Elizabeth sharing her experience of what she describes as years of abuse quickly became something much bigger after she discovered that her husband, Michael, had been cheating on her throughout their marriage.
I'm going through it, and I feel like venting. So I've been with my husband since 2019. Together over 6 years, married 2 years. It's almost my 2-year anniversary. And operating a business together for over 4 years. And 3 weeks ago, he violently, physically assaulted me at work. And if a description of that is going to trigger you, I recommend you stop watching now. He shoved me down on the concrete floor multiple times, hit me in the face, kicked me in the ribs multiple times, and stomped on my back. And it's not the first time he's assaulted me, and it's not the first time I called the cops. You wanna know why he beat me? I asked him if he was cheating on me, and he denied it while he was beating me, after he beat me. Guess what? I was right. He's been cheating on me he's been having affairs and committing adultery for so long of our marriage and our relationship prior. That's it. I just wanted to vent. I'm tired and I'm sad and I'm mad and I just want a little bit of peace, and I can't find it right now.
First of all, I just want to acknowledge how incredibly strong Elizabeth is for sharing something so personal with literally millions of strangers online. I have so much respect for her to be willing to speak about it so publicly. Domestic violence is a pretty serious issue, and people who abuse their partners deserve to be exposed and held accountable. Period. But as brave as Elizabeth's story is, that's not actually why it went viral. Elizabeth's story went viral not because of anything she did, but because of what her husband's mistress decided to do next.
Let's talk about my husband's most annoying mistress, the realtor. A little over 8 weeks ago, my husband violently physically assaulted me. After the fact, I found out that he's been having affairs for the duration of our marriage. She is the most annoying because of how involved she wants to be in my life and my social media, actively commenting and doing other things to my family that we'll talk about a little bit later. I do think it's relevant to state that I know her because she's the realtor for a lot of our mutual assets, and my husband referred to her to my dad for a real estate sale, and then she used the phone number of my dad that she got from work to call and harass my dad.
Now, the woman Elizabeth is talking about is Celeste Hamilton. And at first glance, Celeste, with all due respect, looks like a pretty ordinary woman. She's a realtor from Texas whose TikTok is exactly what you'd expect. You know, selfies, outfit videos, freshly done nails, inspirational quotes, the standard all-American small-town lifestyle content. I'd also like to make a note that Celeste even has a tattoo of a handgun on her back, which is probably the most Texas thing I've ever seen, not gonna lie. She also posts quite a bit about her Christian faith, which is interesting consider the role she's about to play in Elizabeth's life and what she's about to say next.
It like makes my skin crawl a little bit is the fact she says she was a client of mine. Y'all, I've never met this girl in my life, ever. I would not even have recognized her from Bob on the street until she started making videos about me, coming for me. I've never spoken to her. She never tried to reach out to me, anything like that. It was just accusations, until she started making TikTok videos about me and just the defamation stuff, which yes, we've already started a whole case. She's got, I think, 6 coming. But anyways.
So according to Celeste, she's never met Elizabeth. She's never spoken to Elizabeth. She doesn't know Elizabeth. Elizabeth is apparently just some random woman on TikTok who's become weirdly obsessed with her, which is
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Now, Celeste's explanation is about to age as well as milk left on a hot Texas day. And that's because her version of events requires us to ignore a few very important details about the situation.
So her first lie for a while was that she had never been in a home of mine. She's actively taken photos in my marital home and puts them on her social media, and that's still happening. She's still actively doing that.
So here are the photos of her next to the photos of me in the mirror I bought in my home.
One of her new lies is that they were never dating, never sleeping together. For one, when I left my husband, he sent me a very nasty text message confirming that he had been dating her, and multiple people in town knew about it the whole time. Odd that he's not even defending that lie, and she is trying to. While we were actively married, he broke up with her at one point, off and on, I guess, and she went to our shop, our workplace, and busted out the window of one of his trucks that I paid for. Doesn't sound like an incident because of a reality situation gone bad. It sounds like something that happened because she was mad at her boyfriend for dumping her. But again, I'm just a girl. What do I know? She's also been defending his lie that he never violently abused me. Let's be clear. No one can validate whether that did or did not happen. Their opinions don't matter. He did violently abuse me, and he's been doing so for years. And something that his mistress says doesn't change that. She already wrecked the home. She can have that horrible man. She does not have the right to come on my page and determine how I grieve and have the audacity to call me a liar when all of the things I'm saying about the man that she so desperately wants to be with has done to me, right? And that's what makes her the most annoying.
So let's just recap for a second. According to Elizabeth Wright, despite everything Celeste had to say, Michael had already admitted to the affair in text messages. Celeste was publicly defending him against the domestic abuse allegations, and she even shared photos of Celeste inside the marital home, which is a lot. I guess Celeste doesn't just sell homes. Apparently she specializes in wrecking them too. Am I right? Now, what's absolutely fascinating to me is how much work Celeste was willing to do for her married boyfriend. Like, I have genuinely never seen a woman ride so hard for a man who is, objectively, like, not worth it. Honestly, dare I say the level of commitment here is peak embarrassment. Or at least I thought it was, because apparently, according to Elizabeth, Celeste wasn't just the mistress. She was allegedly only one of Michael's 11 mistresses.
Let's talk about another one of my husband's mistresses, the nail tech. This girl has really not done much to me other than screw my husband she knew was married to me. But what I do find interesting about her specifically is how in love her man is with her on his social media. Like, that guy's out here actually doing the most, and I feel so bad for him. Posting cute, like, their cute pictures they do at all the holidays. They have a brand new baby together. I think she's 2, but that's still brand new. And I'm like, oh, I'm absolutely not saying anyone should get a paternity test, but I'm saying she is screwing around and has been with my husband for a while. Who knows who's before that? Maybe we make sure who is the daddy on that one. You thought there were only 4 mistresses? Let's talk about another one of my husband's mistresses, part 5. This particular mistress is almost old enough to be my mother. This mistress works, she's a social worker. She works at the family shelter in town. So getting divorced and going through all of this process, finding out about the cheating is already horrible. So the family shelter is a wonderful resource to women going through my situation, going through what I'm going through, but I don't feel comfortable going there for help because I don't want the person that holds my hand through this process to be the woman that was sleeping with my husband, right?
Today we're talking about mistress number 6. I know, there's so many. We're calling this one the girl's girl. She is dating my husband, going out with my husband. They eventually go back to the house to have fun. They have fun, and then she gets up and she's like, oh my gosh, there's girl stuff or my stuff everywhere. So she immediately leaves the house and she shoots me a message. She's like, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was, with someone. This is what's going on. She left because she's a girl's girl and she didn't know the dude she was screwing was a liar.
Mistress number 7 of my husband's. We're gonna call this one the hotel bartender. My husband and I got married on February 24th, 2024. Huge, beautiful wedding, best day ever. What is my husband doing while I'm sleeping? In our honeymoon suite, he's texting other girls, trying to get laid by them on our wedding night. Let's talk about my husband's mistresses. This is part 10, the pregnant mistress. Really hope she wasn't actually pregnant. I hope for my sake and her sake. Yeah, mistress number 11 of my husband's. We're gonna call her the blind mistress because she did not know that he had a partner. This is also a mistress that my husband abused. He was very aggressive to her and assaulted her very early in their relationship when she found out about me and threatened to tell me about him. Mistress chat part 8, my husband's mistress, the nurse. This woman not only was having affairs with my husband, but she to be present in my life and bully me for so many years that she is by far my least favorite and the worst person. I don't know, the realtor gives her a run for her money, but she's not a good person. Let's talk about my husband's mistresses, cheating story part 9, another bartender. This specific bar, we're very, very married. Like everyone knows we're there a lot. We're very big patrons and supporters of that bar. So everyone knows. And she slept with him. That's it. That's the whole tea.
Girl, I am gagged. So you're telling me Celeste wasn't the other woman? She was just another woman?
Please don't play with me right now. No, that's it. Please. Let's not, please.
Now, I think it's important to note that according to Elizabeth, most of the women who eventually found out they were dating Elizabeth's husband did what I think you and I would do. They cut things off immediately. They wanted nothing to do with him once they realized he was married, which respectfully is the correct decision in that situation. Celeste, however, was different. Because unlike the other women, it almost seemed like Celeste wasn't just trying to keep the relationship. She wanted to be the one Michael chose. And according to Elizabeth, that became clear pretty quickly.
Do y'all want one little update on the realtor mistress right now? For shits and gigs. So I posted a video about another one of my husband's mistresses that he's still seeing, still involved with, or he was as of 2 weeks ago when I posted the video, the nail tech. So prior to that, the realtor called and dumped my husband. His mistress dumped him because it was too much going on. There was too much drama involved with him and she didn't want to be with him anymore. So then he calls people crying about it. First my wife left me, now my girlfriend's leaving me. Ew, 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 all the way around. Okay, that happens on a Monday. So then Wednesday I put up the video about nail tech mistress and the realtor calls nail tech mistress. Michael told me it was only me. He left his wife for me. Is he still talking to you? I'm trying to figure out what's going on. These girls are nuts. First of all, you dumped him on Monday. Why do you still care on Wednesday? And now she's actively in my home again. But yeah, I guess they're still hot and cold. Crazy.
I think we can all agree that getting into a relationship with a married man is already wild enough, but finding out that you're one of 11 of his mistresses, briefly breaking up with him only to get back together and start beefing with the other mistress, let's just say you don't see that every day. And to say that things would only get more unhinged from here would be an understatement. Because based on what we're about to see, Celeste doesn't seem interested at all in distancing herself from Michael, Elizabeth, or the situation. If anything, she seemed to to go out of her way to insert herself even deeper. Which brings us to the barbecue incident. Now, at this point in time, Elizabeth says she was granted a protective order against Michael after it had been proven in a court of law that he had physically assaulted her.
Y'all weren't gonna get another video today, but this man is just the cockroach that won't die. So I have a protective order in place against my husband. There was enough evidence of family assault, family violence, that the permanent protective order was granted.
There was only one pretty major complication with that. So Elizabeth's dad apparently lives just down the street from the marital home within the 200-yard restriction of the protective order, meaning that if Elizabeth went to visit her dad, she and Michael could end up crossing paths, which is, obviously not great. So to deal with that, Elizabeth says the judge made a special accommodation. Michael could continue living at the house, but only if he followed a very specific set of rules.
The judge included my dad's house because I'm allowed to visit my dad. I'm not the restricted person. I'm not the violent offender. My husband is. She made an exception to the rule to let him stay in his house, in our house, under the condition, and she was so clear. She made him attest to each one of these things that he understood. He could not be in the front yard of the house. He could literally walk from his vehicle to the front door and back. Our garage faces the street. He can't even be in the garage with the door open. He can't stand out there and look at his truck for a long time. He can't drive his motorcycle down the street. He can't drive his truck down the street with the windows down, because he has to operate under the assumption that I could be at my dad's house at any time, and the judge made an exception for him to let him stay in that house anyways, even though it's within 200 yards.
All of this becomes relevant because just a few days after the protective order was granted, Michael apparently decided it was, the perfect time to throw a barbecue party at the marital home.
He's hosting a barbecue. First of all, celebrating the fact that you assaulted your wife and the court found that you were guilty of assaulting your wife and gave her a permanent protective order in Texas nonetheless. I don't have words for how twisted and messed up that is, to be having a party to celebrate that. A lot of the people that have enabling him that I haven't spoken about yet are there. And so anyways, the cops were called, 911 was called. The wording is kind of odd in the specific protective order. So he's not being arrested currently. This will go before a judge this week. A warrant will be issued so that we can hopefully have him arrested for violating this order. It's just crazy when I tell you guys this man has no regard for the law. No remorse for his actions. Worst part is, I was a couple minutes from my dad's house to go. We were going over to spend the evening over there, and now I'm not going over there because of this whole shindig going on. Oh my gosh, his girlfriend Celeste, the realtor mistress, is also over there. No one's surprised there.
Now, barbecues are obviously harmless events on their own. However, the point Elizabeth is making here is that you can't really have a barbecue without people being outside. Obviously, a barbecue party would naturally involve people hanging out in places like the driveway, the garage, and the front yard, which just so happened to be the very areas the judge had specifically restricted Michael from using. I don't know if I'd go so far as saying he was celebrating the assault. However, you can imagine that no one knows her crazy husband like Elizabeth, so we'll just take her word for it. In any case, I do agree that it's hard to believe you throw a barbecue without realizing people are going to be hanging out outside, which makes it pretty obvious that the barbecue was a giant you, I'm gonna do whatever I want in my own house kind of move, in my opinion. But then again, who knows what goes on in the mind of an abuser? Apparently, Celeste knows.
One of the best examples of projection that I've seen in quite some time. So, Liz and Michael had court on a Thursday. It was wrapped up about 5:30. She then goes immediately to post this.
Sing like a canary. I'm gonna celebrate with Mexican food right now, go to the rodeo. There will be a story time for the court. See you tomorrow, besties.
Seeing her celebrating the results of their court that day. A couple days later, he decides to invite some of his closest friends over to his house, and while we were there, barbecuing, minding our own business, her stepmom, who resides a few houses down, drove past her own home into the cul-de-sac right in front of Michael's house. One of the stipulations in this protective order, which, mind you, she's pursuing a protective order while stalking him. One of the stipulations in the protective order is that he can't be in his front yard of his own property, his own home in which he owns. She's never owned it before. He's not allowed to be in the front yard. So he wasn't. He stayed inside, did not go past the garage. Those of us who were outside saw her stepmom circle in, kind of park, real sketchy, like I said, real nutty. And then go back to her house. And then within seconds, she had called the police. So they were trying to say that he was in the front yard and he needs to be arrested. And so scary. But Liz is scary. Projection is scary. You need to deal with those things so you quit projecting them into others, because not everybody is celebrating. Not everyone is thinking about you. That's the thing, is we're trying to live our lives and be happy, and we just want you to do the same.
This was Celeste's response to Elizabeth's video. And I just have to say, that last line, we're just trying to live our lives and be happy, and we just want you to do the same, is absolutely sending me. Girl, with all due respect, you're dating her abusive husband and making TikToks in their marital home. The irony of saying we're just trying to live our lives while voluntarily inserting yourself into somebody else's marriage drama is just... I can't even. In any case, none of us were standing in that cul-de-sac, so we don't know every detail of what happened that day or exactly how the police ended up being called. Of course, Celeste is going to have her own version of events, although I will say recording the police interaction at the barbecue as if Michael was somehow the victim here was certainly a choice.
We've been dealing for this for 12 weeks. 12 weeks. This is already starting. This is ridiculous.
Anyways, what we do know is that by this point, Michael had already been through court and was subject to a protective order. Celeste obviously knew that too, since she literally references the day of the hearing and the outcome in her own TikTok. In other words, this woman knew she'd chosen to publicly defend a man who, at the very least, had the potential to be violent. And I think at this point, we all want to know what is going through Celeste's mind. Because girl, what are we doing? Now, obviously, I can't tell you exactly what was going through Celeste's head. None of us can, for we thankfully lack the experience. But based on everything we've seen so far, my theory is that Celeste fits into a very specific category of mistress, the pick-me mistress. When I say pick-me mistress, I'm not just talking about someone who dates married men. Not all mistresses are pick-me's, because plenty of affairs end the moment the other woman realizes she's been lied to. In fact, we literally saw that happen with most of Michael's other mistresses. In my opinion, what makes a pick-me mistress different isn't just her fantasy of being chosen above all the other women in her man's life. It's that she doesn't interpret the red flags the same way most people would, because she genuinely believes she's the exception to them. I'd say it's a combination of optimistic bias and this almost like delusional sense of exceptionalism, because a pick-me mistress doesn't deny the red flags exist. She just thinks that the red flags won't apply to her. Looking back at everything we've seen, every time another red flag appeared, like another mistress, another allegation, a protective order, Celeste's relationship with Michael was never challenged by her. If anything, in her mind, I think she genuinely saw it as an opportunity to reinforce the idea that she was the one who understood Michael when nobody else did. In fact, I'd even go so far as to argue that Celeste thinks something like, Michael didn't cheat because that's who he is. He cheated because he was unhappy with Elizabeth. He wasn't abusive because that's who he is. His crazy wife Elizabeth was the problem. But me? I'm different. I'm special. I'm the woman he'll finally change for. Luck is great, but a good woman on your side is better. This is one of the quotes Celeste posted on her TikTok. My case in point. Now, obviously, real life and real people are more complicated than one armchair psychological label. This is only my interpretation of the behavior we've seen from Celeste, and of course, my own opinions. The truth is, people become willing mistresses and stay in these relationships for all kinds of reasons, whether it be low self-esteem, trauma, manipulation, or, you know, in Celeste's case, alleged homelessness and drug addiction.
We have a rental home in Fort Worth that she was living in for a period of time because allegedly she's homeless. And allegedly the reason she wasn't living with her family is because they kicked her out because of her horrible drug addiction. Multiple people corroborated to me that she was living in that home of ours, but they actually didn't need to because I own our Wi-Fi. So I can see every single time she's been at that house.
Here's the photo of her devices logged into the Wi-Fi in my Fort Worth house she had to live in because she was allegedly a homeless realtor for a little bit.
Okay, that certainly adds some context. Now, I think we can all agree that homelessness and drug addiction are serious and complicated issues. And if it's true, it's entirely possible that Celeste's relationship with Michael involves a level of dependence that we'll definitely revisit later. But even with that context, I don't think it really excuses choosing to knowingly date a married man, publicly defend him against his wife, and continue inserting yourself into the situation. Especially when you know damn well he's someone who's been accused of abusing his wife and has a literal protective order against him. And as it turns out, that wasn't exactly an unpopular opinion. It seemed like people local to the area were beginning to side-eye Celeste and the situation too. So much so that the realtor mistress saga had spread far beyond TikTok and started having real-world consequences.
Let's talk about realtor mistress. Or, I guess technically I have to say, we need to find her a new nickname. We can no longer call her realtor mistress, because as of today, she is no longer licensed. Her license is not active. She cannot currently sell real estate in the state of Texas. What I've heard is that she was fired today by the broker. That could have nothing to do with the situation. That being said, as a business owner, she is making a fool of herself on the internet, defending the man that she is sleeping with that is still married, who did abuse his wife, and there is proof of that, right? Anyways, we need a new nickname for her. Can't be realtor mistress anymore. She's not a licensed realtor. So, yeah, help me workshop that. Let's come up with a new one.
First of all, what? Second of all, we know that Elizabeth says she'd only heard that Celeste had been fired by her broker and couldn't confirm whether it was because of everything happening online. But let's be real here. I think it was pretty obvious that it was. Because by this point, it seems like the TikTok realtor mistress saga had gone so viral that people were leaving troll comments and negative reviews on Celeste's brokerage social media pages. To make sure her employer knew exactly what kind of realtor Celeste was.
Babe, you're a sleazy hoe who wrecked a home, and congrats.
Now, generally speaking, I think people's personal lives and their jobs should stay separate. I usually don't believe in trying to get people fired over personal drama. However, I do think this is one of those rare situations where your personal life actually becomes relevant to your job. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think most people want to buy a home from someone who also enjoys wrecking one. But that's just my opinion. I would love to hear what you think in the comments. Now, whether you're a pick-me mistress or not, I feel like losing your job over your affair going viral would probably be the point where you step away from social media entirely and pretty much never speak of it again. But if there's one thing we've learned about Celeste, is that she's not your average pick-me mistress. So no. Because instead of disappearing from the internet, let's just say she had other plans.
Within hours of me finding out that I was terminated, she was already posting a celebratory video on her TikTok saying, we got the karma, blah, blah, blah. She has no idea what karma is yet, but she will.
She messaged me to watch all her videos, and I'm like...
Who has the time?
No, I was like,
I haven't even watched. I physically couldn't, nor would I want to.
I would rather eat 6 pounds of broken glass than watch 12 of your videos. It would be hard for her to come sit down and have this conversation.
Impossible, I would say.
Yeah, she's going to fall apart. It's going to be like Kamala Harris during the election.
Yes. I sleep well at night knowing that I haven't done anything that's morally wrong in my book.
Right.
A lot of the people, I would go click on their profile and it's just purple-haired, mean, angry people. That saved me. If you don't like me, then I'm doing something right.
I think most of the women that are probably really angry ain't got no daddy.
You know what? I didn't even think of it that way. You're so right.
Because if I saw my daughter lashing out as somebody, I would, girl.
If I was doing the things that she's doing and posting 3 to 5 times a day, every day for months, my family, week 1, would have been like, we're putting you in the mental hospital. Get off your phone. What are you doing?
Do you realize what kind of psychopath is going to want to date her moving forward?
Oh, this is a conversation everyone in my life has had. They're like, she's never going to have, no.
After losing her job and becoming the center of a viral controversy, Celeste decided to go on a podcast to share her side of the story. But what I think is absolutely fascinating about this interview is that it wasn't really about trying to clear her name. In my opinion, it was just one giant exercise in cognitive dissonance. One of the things that stood out to me was how strange the dynamic between Celeste and the podcast host was. I mean, this man was genuinely complimenting her for being a mistress.
You're the most pretty girl in the room. So when she hates on you,
Yeah, it comes. And I think it's a lot of women who've also been cheated on or gone through things, which we all have been. I've been through, no one knows all the things that I've been through, but we've all been through that. But I noticed it's mostly women who are like, they've been wronged. And so it's using their own things, putting in a situation they have no idea about. These people don't know my life. They don't know anything about me.
Yeah.
But they think they do because it reminds them of a situation that they've gone through.
I mean, you can be common law married after this.
Exactly.
I don't even know how to react to that. In the podcast, Celeste eventually reveals that she did, in fact, lose her job because of the affair and the online backlash surrounding it.
Somebody had told me that within hours of me finding out that I was terminated, she was already posting a celebratory video on her TikTok saying, we got the karma, blah, blah, blah. She has no idea what karma is yet, but she will. To know that when my own family didn't know that I was terminated, how else do you think it happened? You know what I mean? Like, she's like, she goes on there and she says, I had no idea. I had nothing to do with this. No, this doesn't fall on me, but she's terminated. Okay, how did you even know that fast? Obviously, you're the one making the calls or people on your side. But yeah, that fact that I got fired for any other reason than her.
However, Celeste and the podcast host go on to frame the firing as somehow being Elizabeth's fault, arguing that she set a dangerous precedent by speaking publicly about the situation.
And that's what I've told people. This is a bad precedent that was set because...
Terrible precedent.
Because now a group of girls are going to go say, what other agents do we have issues with? Let's just go harass their place of work until they get...
Fired. Yeah, and it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's opened up doors. I think it was a huge mistake.
It is a huge mistake, and the whole thing, I was like, I mean, I don't know. Somebody should launch a podcast that just does nothing but this. Find the women that are attacked. Because I told the baddies,
it would be so successful.
Well, I told many. I told the baddies that work at the local gas station. My gas station baddies. Shout out gas station baddies at the Texaco and Groesbeck. I told them about this interview. They immediately got so amped up. They're like, yes, out the mistresses. And I'm like, no, that's not it. And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, she got fired. And I'm like, yeah, good, whatever. And I'm like, no, you're on the wrong side of this. Like, imagine.
But that's how easy it is to go with that.
I'm like, imagine people started calling up here to this Texaco and saying one of these women is running around
with her husband that comes in to buy gas.
Yeah, and you get fired. And you're just sitting there going, what did I get fired for?
Yeah.
Well, you got fired because the phone wouldn't stop ringing, and it's easier to fire you than it is
to deal with it.
Yeah, just answer the phone. Ignore it. Yeah.
So apparently the dangerous precedent that's being set is that people might actually face consequences for having affairs with other people's partners and gloating about it online. Interesting. Now, after being repeatedly validated by the podcast guy throughout this conversation, Celeste then seems to reach a whole new level of cognitive dissonance and argues that Elizabeth and Michael were never actually married.
You knew him before that.
I knew him, for the last 8 years. I never knew her. I never met her. As far as I know, they never signed a marriage certificate. Like, a lot of the stuff she says about how they were married and all these things aren't even the case, the situation.
So is there a divorce ongoing?
She filed their common law marriage.
Oh, well, that's easy. Me and you can be common law married after this.
Exactly. And so hopefully that will all come out in court.
I'm sorry, but I find it really hard to believe that Celeste, who claimed to have known Michael for almost a decade, somehow never knew about Elizabeth. Maybe what she means is that she never wanted to hear about her, but to say she knew him for that long and had no idea about Elizabeth existing is a pretty wild claim, if you ask me. And what makes this claim even more confusing is that Celeste somehow knows that Elizabeth and Michael never signed a marriage certificate and were only in a common law marriage, while wedding photos of them literally exist publicly online. Obviously, Celeste's claim is difficult to reconcile with, given the reality of the situation. And in my opinion, this is where we really start seeing the pick-me mistress fantasy break down in real time. Because if the reality is that Michael was married, that Celeste was one of many women he was involved with, and that the situation was actually much more complicated than she wanted to believe, that's probably a very difficult thing to accept. Especially when the entire fantasy depends on believing that you are different. That, everyone else just simply misunderstood the guy, but somehow you saw the real him. So, instead of confronting the possibility that Michael might actually be quite terrible, it's easier to reinterpret the situation. The marriage wasn't real. the wife wasn't really his wife. The other women didn't really understand him. Problem wasn't Michael. It was everyone else getting the story wrong. Now, all this is one thing when we're talking about someone simply trying and doing very badly to justify their messy affair. But when that same logic starts getting applied to allegations of abuse...
This guy has been arrested for domestic violence. Not hard to do.
No. In Texas, and I can speak from experience, if you are in a domestic and somebody calls the cops, one person is going to jail.
100% of the time.
One of the two are going to jail
100%
no
of the
matter
time.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can call the cops and you can go to jail.
Yes.
It's not very hard to do.
And a lot of times the person who calls the cops is the one that's not the victim, or that is the victim. They more so don't want to get that other person in trouble.
Right.
And then somebody has decided, I'm done with this. I'm ruining your life, which is what she said word for word.
Yeah, it happens. And whatever their situation is, he's been accused. He'll get his day as court.
And they have all their,
They have all their stuff and whatever. Like, we're not, I don't care. Like, I don't.
No,
like,
and it's not ours to speak on, too. I mean, it's not. Plus, I wasn't in the relationship. She thinks I was, but I wasn't. You know.
Well, I don't, like, they're like, oh, you're defending. Nobody's defending anything.
And I've never defended any sort of abuse ever. I just know how things work, and I know how things can be misconstrued.
Dude, I'm going to say it, because I'm going to say it. Like, they'll say there's never a time or a place to hit a woman. I've seen it on the internet 100 times where there's a time and place for a woman to get knocked out, and they're attacked. There's that lady that attacked that little kid. Like, there's women that attack men like with weapons, and like I'm like, I don't know what was going on at that moment in time.
You don't know. And someone with a brother, I've always worried about women, because I'm a woman. I know how crazy we are, and and I'm crazy. For me to say someone else is crazy, that's saying something. Well, but women rage bait all the time, and this is a clear case of that, in my opinion. And
well, the other thing is like I know that I don't know this guy, but I know what a guy could do to a female.
100%.
And it ain't bruises on the arm where you get grabbed because you're a little thick in the arm. I mean, you can grab my arm and leave a bruise right now.
You can stare at me too hard and I'll bruise.
That's right. So, I mean, I know what an ass whooping looks like, and it don't look like bruises on the arm. So
it would also be considered a felony if that were true, not a misdemeanor.
It can get there quick, but it's like, that'll play itself out in court.
Exactly.
Like, if there's a conviction, there's a conviction.
And I've always said that stuff, I have no doubt about that truth's coming out.
Well, there's certainly a lot to unpack here. First of all, I think it's worth pointing out that the person validating her throughout this conversation is a man who casually says there's a time and place to hit a woman, while also referring to women as females throughout the podcast. I mean, you can just tell we're dealing with a real stand-up guy here, you know what I mean? In any case, this entire conversation is just surreal to listen to. Because for me, I genuinely don't know what kind of personal experiences or beliefs lead someone to get to the point where they can just sit there and essentially downplay domestic abuse against women like this. And for that reason, I would argue that the pick-me mistress is probably the worst version of the pick-me archetype. Because not only do we see this deep sense of contempt towards other women, but there's also something genuinely sad about watching someone become so invested in proving that they're different that they're willing to defend a man at the expense of themselves. And unfortunately for Celeste, that last part was about to become quite literal. Because not long after this podcast, Celeste was about to find out firsthand what Michael's alleged abuse looked like.
My wife-beating, cheating husband is currently in a jail cell, and realtor mistress is in there with him. I've got receipts. Come on. Good morning. Here they are. Do you remember when I told you my husband beat the shit out of me in January, and then he put his batshit crazy cokehead mistress on the internet to tell everyone I was crazy and he had never hit me? He just beat the shit out of her last night, and he's in jail right now while you and I are talking about this. She's also in jail right there with him for assaulting the cop that showed up for the family disturbance call. The charge that he got is the exact same one he got with me. Assault, family violence 2 in 6 months? Yeah, go tell everyone that that's a fluke too, right? Absolutely insane work. And I'm not, my pride's not there. I will say I told you so. I have been telling y'all. I have been telling her. But no, on God's green earth, she's on podcast. Also, guys, obviously people tell me about them because we're still married. He is not divorced from me. That is my husband sitting in a jail cell right now. Should I call? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to. I have a restraining order because he's insane. Clearly there was alcohol involved. They got arrested at the Lord's hour this morning. Like, both of them need serious help. Maybe they're a match made in heaven. They're already in jail. Too bad we're not divorced yet. I was going to say, they're going to see a judge. They could try and get married. But no, he would have to get divorced from me first to do that. Damn. Anyways, happy Sunday. God is good, and I'm glad no one's hurt. And I'm glad they're both in jail because they're criminals, and that's where they deserve to be.
I mean, wow. Who could have possibly seen that coming, am I right?
She has no idea what karma is yet, but she will.
In my opinion, this is where the entire Pick Me Mistress saga finally comes full circle. After spending all that time trying to prove that she was different from Elizabeth, that she understood her husband better, and that he would never treat her the way he treated his wife, Celeste found herself in the exact position she had spent months insisting Elizabeth was lying about. And the irony of it all is that in the end, Celeste did quite literally get picked, except she got picked by Michael to be his new victim.
Quick little update for you guys, because we're doing this all live. My husband got out of jail yesterday. Celeste, his mistress, also got out of jail. And she's right back at home. Neighbors saw her come back in today. But mommy, she loves him. They were both dropped off by his mother. She is who bailed them out. Enabler to her core. No, he beat the shit out of her. Not the first time. He's been doing it for months. Beat the shit out of her. She assaulted the cops while they were arresting him. Both got out. She won't leave him. He is going to end a woman's life one day. As long as we're all on the same page. And unfortunately, right now, it seems like she is signing up for that role. And I do genuinely hate that for her. But, they're in love again, still living in my house.
Now, I'm not afraid to admit that my sense of justice is pretty strong. Sometimes a little too strong, honestly, which is something I'm at least self-aware about. So I believe that when you fuck around, sometimes you find out. And after everything Celeste had said and done, I'm not exactly gonna sit here and pretend I wasn't thinking, well, girl, you fucked around. But I also think it's easy for me to have that reaction because I've never experienced domestic abuse or violence at the hands of a partner. I've never had to understand what it's like to be trapped in that kind of situation or how complicated it can really be to leave. Because after everything Celeste had said and done to her, I thought Elizabeth would be a little bit more vindictive, and honestly, I think she would have been completely justified. But Elizabeth, to her credit, took the complete opposite approach.
We come to find out, my husband got arrested 2 nights ago for assaulting her. He's assaulted her multiple times. He's been assaulting her since November. So she did all of that to me while she knew what type of a man he was. And he was also committing assault against her. And I will give her a bit of grace here. I believe my husband was making her do that. And I've been very candid about that on the internet. My husband has a restraining order in place. He cannot talk to me. He cannot talk about me. So what does he do? He finds someone dumb enough to weaponize in his place. And unfortunately for this girl, it was her. Okay. I do think he made her say some of those things. There's a line. And I don't think he made her go on a podcast to talk about what a liar I am and defend how he's such a good man. She's lucky she has her life right now. I am grateful that he did not end this girl's life. No one, not even the woman who's made it her personal goal to debase and defame everything I went through, not even she deserves to have my husband unleashed on her. Okay? And I stand by that. The girl needs help. I've talked about this before. She is allegedly very deep in drug addiction. And I think she's dependent on my husband for a lot of reasons. He was letting her live in one of our homes in another city for a while because her family's put her out because of the alleged drug use. She immediately moved into my house, quasi living between her car. I think she's fully financially dependent on him. He is giving her access to a life that she could never have on her own. On top of that, I know how hard it is to leave him. I'll give her that. It took me 7 years. I know firsthand specifically how hard it is to leave him. And that's not to say it's just us. There's women everywhere who have a hard time leaving abusive relationships. I always say do it when it's right for you. At the end of the day, if there's anyone in the situation who needs your thoughts and prayers and who needs help, it is her. I sincerely hope that for her. Hopefully she can get away and she can start over and she can have a fresh start too. I don't know how old she is. I think she's older than me. You can start over. Women can start over. I hope she is able to do that. I hope she can forgive herself for what she did to me because she was just as foul as my husband to me without ever lifting a finger against me. And like I said, I think she's a victim too. I feel for her in every part of my heart that I can. I don't hate the girl, but she She's a lunatic, quite honestly, and she needs help.
Girl, what an absolutely insane situation, and honestly, good for Elizabeth for handling it the way she did. Elizabeth doesn't suddenly forget everything Celeste did to her. She doesn't excuse the affair, she doesn't forgive her, and she makes it pretty clear that the damage Celeste caused is something she'll carry with her. But at the same time, she's able to look at what happened to Celeste and recognize that she's now in an abusive relationship herself, which is, one, not that easy to do, and two, probably not what Celeste thought she was signing up for when she spent, all that time trying to be the one who got picked. The story of the TikTok pick-me realtor mistress is one of affairs, questionable life choices, and an absolutely catastrophic case of I'm not like the other girls. But underneath all the insanity, I think it's also a story about being able to recognize that someone can hurt you deeply and still not deserve to be abused. Hurt people. And while that obviously doesn't excuse their horrible behavior, maybe we can all agree that some people just need to heal before they make another terrible life decision. But I want to know what you think. What do you make of this TikTok realtor mistress and this whole mess? And if you were Elizabeth, would you have reacted the same way to all this in the end? And lastly, please let me know what you think of these short drama dives. As you may know, I've been doing a lot longer influencer and influencer situation deep dives, but they take a lot of time to research, edit, and honestly emotionally decompress from. So I'm trying to experiment with these shorter videos as a way to be present and make content without, spending 2 months of my life on one video and then disappearing and then coming back to you and you're like, where did you go? I'd love to know if you enjoyed this format and if it's something you're okay with seeing more of. And with that, I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.